2004, and I'm about to have a milestone birthday, and my daughter, Gemma, gives me a completely unexpected gift. She tells me she's pregnant. My reaction? You're kidding. It's a little weird, but in my defense, I just wasn't expecting it. My daughter's always been a fascinating, volatile personality, and up until now, her chief obsession has been her writing. She's an award-winning horror author, recently married, in her mid-30s, and I had no idea that a baby was part of their game plan. And besides, my mind was racing. I'm going to be a grandmother. What the heck does that mean? But gradually, I began to love the idea of this new baby coming into my life. Someone new to love, to share the things that I love with, and maybe even to right some of the wrongs that I've done to my own kid. It feels like a rare second chance. So to celebrate my milestone birthday, I take Gemma to New York for a holiday. It's a beautiful spring, and the time that we spend together is very special. Long walks, lots of conversation. She's never been. She's 5 months pregnant. And both of us know that life is about to change. So fast forward to Peterborough, and it's the last night of a play that I'm doing there. Gemma's been on my mind a lot. She's 10 days overdue, but things are moving now fast. She's in hospital, and by the time I get back to Toronto, he's here. And 20 minutes later, I hold him in my arms. His name is Callum Jacob. He's a big, red-faced, sturdy boy. He's almost 10 pounds. And courtesy of one of Gemma's friends, he wears a hand-knit black baby cap with a skull and crossbones on it. The nurses think it's hysterical. Holding this new baby in my arms, my heart just magically opens to him. All my questions fall away. It's confirmed. I want to be a part of his life. So we negotiate my grandmother name. His other grandmother is already Gran. And my daughter doesn't like the name Nana because that was her grandmother's name and they weren't close. So I suggest Mei, using my middle name, and everyone seems okay with it. Cal is such a beautiful baby. Well, of course he is. How could he not be? He's ours. But the truth is, he's very quiet. He doesn't cry a lot. Any parent's dream. He's physically advanced. He walks at 8 months. And he always has this air of enormous concentration. Like he's trying to figure us out. So as he becomes a toddler, it becomes clear that even when there are other kids around, he likes to play on his own. He slides his favorite toy, Thomas the Tank Engine, back and forth. And a close friend of mine is captivated with him, and she says, "That child has such enormous concentration. He's going to be an engineer." His food choices are very specific. If you offer him something new and he doesn't like it, he sniffs to one side and then waves it away with a somewhat imperious manner. He's kind of like a boy emperor. But he is undeniably charming. And I just love it when he climbs on my lap and with his back fitted against me, opens a favorite book. He loves to be read to. So then, when he's just over 2, my daughter's dad visits from Australia. He's been spending a lot of time with his grandnephews and nieces, and he really treasures the idea that this is his grandson. So he takes him to parks, to playgrounds, to the island. And then, just before he leaves, he tells us, "There's something different about Cal. I can't make a connection with him. He doesn't really look at me. You should check it out." Well, it's hard not to feel defensive about this. And we do. It feels like a lot of judgment coming from someone who doesn't really know him. Nonetheless, why take chances? Our doctor doesn't feel that there's anything wrong, but operating on a better safe than sorry agenda, he instigates an evaluation at St. Michael's Autism Center. We're a little apprehensive, but overall optimistic. And a young intern explains that he is going to observe Cal's behavior in 3 different areas. 1, social interaction and eye contact. Cal. Hi, Cal. Hi. Cal? Hey, buddy. Look at me. Cal avoids his eyes and ignores him completely. 2, communication. Cal, what's this? Is it a car? Is it a truck? And Cal says, absolutely nothing. And 3, repetitive behaviors. Cal spends the entire time sliding small cars back and forth. So on the basis of this exam trifecta, the young doctor recommends him to see the specialist. The wheels of our healthcare system grind slow. It's another 6 months before we see her. And Cal is now almost 3. But at last the day arrives, and I go with Gemma for moral support. The specialist asks lots and lots of questions, and we try to answer as best we can. I feel that we're not really giving her what she needs, and then I realize she's looking for hard data, and we're telling anecdotes about a little boy we love. After question time, the room gets really, really quiet, and we watch her watching Cal. His behavior is pretty much the same. He moves from toy to toy, but there's one that he really, really likes. It's a Thomas the Tank Engine, and it's huge. The doctor swoops in, picks it up, and puts it on top of a bookshelf. Cal stares at it fixedly. Now, there are 3 adults in the room. His mom, the doctor, and myself. He doesn't point to it. He doesn't ask for help. And then we watch him in danger, life and limb, trying to climb the bookcase to get at it. So finally, the session is over, and the specialist gives us her diagnosis. Cal has autism disorder. Frankly, I think her eye contact is pretty bad. It's so hard to accept. In my heart, I keep praying that one morning he'll magically wake up and language will just be there. And his mother was 2.5 before she spoke. His dad was almost 3. I still remember the first morning that she finally used her first words. Can I have a bowl of cereal, please? After I picked myself up off the floor, the floodgates of language just opened. Maybe this could happen with Cal too. Please. Nonetheless, I started to educate myself about autism, and I read lots and lots of books. And I learned that autism is a spectrum disorder, which means that there's a big range of severity. So at the top end, there's highly verbal Asperger's syndrome, sometimes called the little professor syndrome. And to a group like us, his highly verbal family, doesn't sound so bad. But at its most severe, there are kids who will never talk at all. And this is terrifying. They may have sensory issues, fabric, light, noise, all can be unbearably irritating. And some of these children don't sleep well, they can be self-abusive, and can experience intense levels of misery. So, naturally, our first question is, where is Cal on this spectrum? And no one can answer this. They just don't know. He's too young to make that call. I'm so frustrated. But I know that I need to learn more. So one cold, bitter winter evening, I attend a talk at the Geneva Center for Autism. It's for the caregivers of newly diagnosed kids. And our extremely charming moderator starts off by saying, people, here's the thing. If you know one kid with autism, you know one kid with autism. And funnily enough, this helps more than anything that I've read or heard so far. What I understand now is that we are charged with the task to learn our boy on a minute-by-minute basis. I'm about to begin my master's in Cal. So in this brave new world of autism, I learn a whole new vocabulary. I'm used to thinking of the majority of children as normal. Apparently that's not correct. They're not normal, they're neurotypical. Okay. Our child is not autistic. He has autism. Well, frankly, sometimes we think that autism has him, but admittedly that's on a really bad day. And language, it becomes divided into two distinct types. There's communicative language, you know, the basics where you tell me what you need and how you feel. And then there's this new term that I've never heard before, echolalia. Echolalia. When I first hear it, it sounds poetic and Shakespearean. And it could be a country just east of Illyria or somewhere near Prospero's Island. But what it actually means is the child echoes captured phrases from books or TV commercials and repeats them over and over again. Short bursts of rhythm and music. TV commercials do this really effectively. And even though Cal at this point doesn't appear to be taking much notice of TV, one afternoon we hear him sing, Harvey's makes a hamburger, a beautiful thing. Harvey's makes a hamburger, a beautiful thing. And he's pitch perfect. So here's what it's like to spend time with Cal as he moves from ages 3 to 4 to 5. We watch him wander through the world distractedly, flitting from object to object. And I see him continue to climb my furniture to get a toy on a top shelf rather than just ask for it. And his echolalia grows to include more television commercials, children's rhymes, books, and songs. Echolalia is common among children with autism, but Cal is the Emperor of Echolalia. And then when he's 4, he's fascinated by this TV commercial where the flight attendant's trying to stop smoking and she has a temper tantrum. So one day we're at the drugstore and he suddenly grabs my hand and tries to climb up my leg to get to one of the product shelves. And I can hear him quietly mumble, Echolalia. I ask him to repeat. He says it a little louder. And then when I ask him to say it again, he shouts, Nicoderm! I help him get the box, and he holds it and stares at it with complete fascination, like it's some kind of rare and sacred artifact. And then, around the same time, courtesy of YouTube, he discovers a whole new world of TV promos. And the first time that I heard this angelic 4-year-old say, in the criminal justice system, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. So I'm always looking for new things to interest him. And because of his love of music, I introduce him to Disney's Little Einstein series. And it's a bizarre combination of 4 adventure-seeking animated children. They're playing. And each episode contains a composer and snippets of classical music. So, for instance, it could be Charles Gounod's Funeral March of the Marionettes, underscoring lyrics like, We're off to the puppet show, we're off to the puppet show, the puppet show, the puppet show, the puppety puppet show. Cal adores it. His mother not so much. But because of little Einstein's, odd phrases from the show start to enter his vocabulary. So for instance, usually when you ask him a yes-no question, he never answers yes or no. But now, because of little Einstein's, if he really doesn't want something, he lets you know by saying in a high-pitched cartoon voice, "No, that's not it either." And increasingly, this echolalia is becoming emotionally appropriate. So for example, at a school one day, his intervener told us that he was so annoyed by her repeated prompts to do an activity that for the first time, he had a full-on temper tantrum. So after crying and throwing whatever was close to hand, he stopped, he looked at her, and he said, "I got pretty irritable." And that's exactly what the flight attendant says after she loses her temper. So as he develops, he can recite longer and longer passages of learned rhymes and songs, but he doesn't really communicate, not unless he really, really wants something. And I begin to notice that when he speaks echolalically, his diction is precise, his pitch has variety, there's lots of vocal color. But when he speaks communicatively, he sounds very quiet, dull, and less clear. "I want bacon. I want French fries. I want YouTube." I love language, and so does he, but I can hear what a struggle it is for him to master it. So with Cal, I have two choices. Leave him alone and risk letting him go even further inside himself, or make demands on him that are not always welcome. So it's kind of like meeting a really cute guy who's a little aloof, but you suspect that there's something there, so you make an extra effort. And this is how I develop my 8 rules for hanging out with an autistic kid. And while I'm compiling it, I realize that even if you don't have an autistic kid in your life, some of this could make good dating advice. So 1, don't wait for him to ask you out. It's not going to happen. If you want a relationship, be prepared to fight for it. 2, take care when choosing a restaurant. It should be quiet and music-free to keep him focused, and they must serve bacon and French fries. 3, be prepared to do mostly what he wants to do. For instance, in Cal's case, it could be singing his current favorite song over and over again. 4, don't expect him to go shopping with you. In fact, avoid malls altogether. Background music, fluorescent lights, crowds of people overload him and he may make a run for it. 5, as with all strong, silent types, watch and listen for clues. He may be trying to tell you something. For instance, I spent a month away doing a play, and when I returned, he seemed standoffish. He won't look at me. So I take him on my knee, I look into his eyes, and I say, "I love you, Bunny." And he looks at me and sings, "Family happens at Swiss Chalet." I feel forgiven. 6, understand that he values his alone time. When I ask him, "Keep me company," he may say, "No company." And this doesn't mean he doesn't value me. He's just momentarily had enough. 7, sleepovers. Always a delicate subject. And in Cal's case, know that they'll involve lots of jumping up and down and constant chatter once the lights go out as he processes his day. But the morning cuddles are pretty darn sweet. And finally, 8. Find shared activities that make him laugh. Reciting highly rhythmic poetry with alternating lines can be fun. And the bonus is he can't do it alone. J, M, W, G, do P. Took great care of his mother, though he was only 3. J, said to his M, he said he, you must never go down to the end of the town if you don't go down with me. Huge giggles, and bingo, we make contact. And even better, he initiates it a second, a third, and a fourth time. It helps him see that people can be fun. I mean, there are lots of times I can't engage him, but I keep going back. And I find that my love for this boy, this odd boy, this non-neurotypical boy, becomes a great throb in the middle of my chest. My life takes a new direction where I try to learn as much as I can about autism in general and how it plays out in our guy. And every day I'm grateful that he doesn't seem to have the crippling sensory disorders that others have, that he sleeps well at night, and for the most part wakes up first thing in the morning excited and cheerful to jump into the day. And our family celebrates every small step forward, and all my expectations shift. And I make time to be with him on his terms. I worry about his future, but I know that I have to concentrate on what's happening with him right now, here, in this moment. Still, I always look at him and I wonder what it must be like to be inside his head. And then, one night, I have the dream. I'm sitting in the courtyard of a temple. I don't know where it is, but it's very far from home. The colors are luminous and soft. It's early in the morning, and I'm wearing a simple robe. I hold a pale pink peony in my hands. I feel a great calm, and I'm content to just be here. I like the fact that no one here speaks my language, or even knows who I am. I love this quiet. I can hear the water in the fountain gurgle and spray. I can feel the warmth of the early sun on my cheek. And I listen deep inside myself and let whatever lives there come forward in any which way whatever. From behind a tree, a few branches, I see a young man. He's tall and slim and regal. He has thick, straight brown hair that bears a glint of gold. As he walks slowly towards me, I see his eyes. They're hazel, with a touch of green, almond-shaped and filled with love. He kneels down in front of me. He takes my hands and places them on his cheeks. He looks directly at me and says, "May May." Oh, Callum, how long I've waited for this. You can see how beautiful it is here, can't you, May May? Oh, yes. This is my home. This is where I live all the time. There's nothing to worry about. Can we just sit here together? And our hands lightly touching. Together, the Emperor and I, just sit.